everybody. I just wanted to share my Christmas presents that I've been making for my kids. This is going to be the first one, and this one is for my youngest daughter. Made this crooked, but you know, it is what it is. It's a junk journal. She wanted a camping theme. She does not know that I have made this for her, so it's a surprise, but I'm going to just go through it. Let me make sure I'm in frame. Looks good. Anyway, I made her a little private diary. Now this kit is from Diane Fortin. I think I've told you guys before that it was Diane Fortin, and I think I had made an error, but this one is definitely Diane Fortin for the 99.9% of it. So let me explain what I did. I kind of forgot about the closure again, and so I added this extra piece of fabric in here in order to be able to buckle down that. And then I made a pocket in here for her to carry stuff. She wanted a lot of writing room, so I didn't embellish a lot. So I have, this was off of a doily, and I just made a little flower out of it. We have a camping scene here where they're fishing. I don't know if she's going to like the fishing part of it, but you know, it's close enough to perfect, I suppose. This says Camper's Guide to Outdoor Cooking, and he's like looking at a fish. I added some strips of paper. It had a lot of dark space, and she needed more writing space, so I wanted to include more writing space in this. So I added, you know, little things here and there. I got a printout, a free digital printout, and added some extra things here. I added a little bit, not much. She's not a foofy girl, so I tried to stay away from adding too much. There's a deer. This was a stencil, coffee dyed on there, and there's a little boy and girl camping and have 3 hot dogs, one for the little doggy. I think that's cute. Added some extra fabric here with some fabric there just to kind of give a lot of writing space. Most of her digital is covered up, so I wanted to add just different textures and looks to it. This has got a camping scene here, like a little picnic ground scene, and here's a squirrel with, I had a squirrel punch, not punch, you know what I mean. Tink, that thing. That's what it is. I have just different papers. That's a napkin. I added a little tree charm there. This here, this is Sharon Vandergraaf's paper. Absolutely gorgeous. And all I did was just make a little writing spot for her. It's just some pretty, and then I got this from AliExpress, if you have interest in that deer clip. And it just folds in there. And I didn't like that it was open. I had just a flap here, but I ended up closing it up somewhat with this trim that I got from Hobby Lobby. Connie Joyce actually did this image for me for my birthday, which I absolutely loved. The whole thing didn't fit on there, so I cut part of it off. Just made a little flip here with some bugs, different bugs. There's a butterfly. It says a campfire, a girl in summer camp. Here it says, let's go camping. It's another camper with some people. A lot of her images are kind of blurred a little bit, you know, to kind of bring the effect to the page itself. There's a lantern. This is a Tim Holtz stamp, and I added a little spider on that lantern, which is a different stamp. Oh, there's a spider down here too. This is tent camping with Mom. This kind of reminded me of her. We were big Girl Scouts, and, you know, always took her camping with Girl Scouts. I made a mess of this, but, you know, it is what it is. So I had a stamp of a tent, and then I tried to use marker, and it turned out really bad, in my opinion. Little, what is it, grasshopper, cricket? I don't know, cricket, I guess. Some extra things here. I just left that in the middle. This had to be the center page because the bear's nose was in one side, so I had to make that page. I did a little card weave here. This is just an index card, and I just did a Franken page out of that. It says life is about creating yourself. We have a woodpecker, which has been hanging around my house lately. A couple tags. I did not distress any of this because she's not my distress girl. She mentioned once it'd be nice if maybe I didn't do so much of that in books, so all of her other books I've done it. She's left-handed, I made it so it can be flat a little bit, you know, not bother her there. Home is wherever you park, live, love, and camp, and it's just an old Winnebago. There's a dragonfly and a bear. This bear is part of the kit, but I had dragonflies here with some flowers. I don't know if you can see them very well, and some fireflies up there. Here it says cabins, clean and rustic, and it has just a whole little, something you would see in a restaurant, in my opinion, or in a cabin somewhere. And there's an ant, bear, and a cabin. Darn it, I wish I would have remembered before I sewed the pages together, because I sewed 2 pages together, and then I could have sewed, you know, some in there, but I might go back and put some, you know, white in there to kind of make it look like snow on there. More little footprints, the back of a truck with a canoe on top, ready to go fishing or something. And this is her images here. This is a die-cut mushroom from AliExpress. And there's a little, I think that's a bear stamp. And I made a little fence here with some cloth that I had. It was like a window covering is what it was. I covered most of this. This has just this, but I added papers, more papers. This is the image here. I added some napkin and napkin in those 2 spots. And paper here. I added paper here. I love this sweater. Look, caution bear in area, guy in a canoe. I have a little charm here. I don't know if you can see it, of a owl. And I just layered up 1, 2, 3 different things and put a pin in it with a string through it. I just have some binds going here. This is the center of the center. Center of the center. This is the center of the center. It's the center of the signature. It did come with these little cutouts, so I just stuck them on there for accent. This reminded me of Girl Scouts as well, because, you know, they're building a fire and it looks like they're trying to teach how to do that. And it had like the blue checks, teal color checks, and the red and black checks. I bought a big old thing. I do not know if she sells this on her kit. I just like begged it out of her, so you may or may not see it in her shop if that's where you go to find it. That was just a cutout from a magazine, and I had this stamp. I put a little bit of fabric, and then I put that stamped on a piece of paper there. I have this stamp, and I just made lines with it, and we have a little bear stamp, and these are just plain on the back. Well, I guess I added a smidge, not much. Added some fabric on fabric here. This is some more coffee dyed paper. It says registered letter, kind of like you're at camp and you get a letter from camp. So we have, you know, I think that's actually the same girl, it's just a different looking image now that I look at it. My favorite, little raccoon. She had one time at camp found a little raccoon and was trying to make friends with it. And I'm like, nope, don't do that. I added a little red fingernail polish here. I don't know if you can see the glisten in the fire to make the fire kind of pop a little bit. And I painted the marshmallows white and painted them in and the rocks in. Mom and Dad fishing here. I have some pine cones on top of a little bit of napkin up there. Some more little prints and another Winnebago I added again. Same stamp. This was her image here. And this is also her image. This was all of her image. I did put a piece of paper here. It says New Hampshire Lake Winnisocky. And I don't know, White Mountains. It has a fish there. Down here, I had a stamp I put on there is all I did. And, you know, when you have something that is just standing out in limbo, you almost need to put something under it so it has something to sit on, you know. I learned that back in my art class years ago. But I have a little pine cone, and I just put a little bit of fabric there and tied a bulb pin with some there. This is just some of fabric, red and black checked fabric. This is actually a coffee cup. She's like asking somebody, do you want a cup of coffee? Yes, sign me up. I have the little deer. This is a paper clip here that came from AliExpress. And we have just more fabric and more. Here's the center of the second. This is my favorite little page here. And it had to be the center as well because it goes across the whole thing. And I made 2 little pockets here. there's a pine tree here that matches these pine trees over here, and I used this little cutout and stuck it over here just for some accent. Whispering Pines Tell Stories. This was part of the kit, and I added just, I don't know, maybe I just added one image. I thought I added, oh, there's a campfire and Discover. So a few images there. And then this little pocket just pulls out and flips down. Left it all pretty simple, trying to make as much writing space because she really did want a writing journal. My deers didn't show up very much, very well on my coffee dyed paper, so I outlined them, and I don't know, I might have messed them up somewhat. I coffee dyed with a stencil some leaves, and here is a little deer. Just put some sewing up there, have different leaves. That gives her another writing space. I was trying to make as much writing space as I could that she could take out, write on it, put it back, to make it a little easier, because I know when you're really writing on it, it does make a difference. Here's a person that's chopping some wood down here, has a fish and rope and a tent and a cardinal up here. Just more of the same there, more of the same here. I stamped, put a little fabric under there to make it look like the trees were actually sitting on a mountain somewhere. Added a piece of paper there, a piece of paper there. These both die cuts came from AliExpress. And here I have just another camper, more little feet, and different layering. There was a deer here, so I made the deer prints here with the, and this is just kind of, I wish I would have offset this when I, to kind of make it layer 3 different layers, but, too late. Sorry. And I just added a 14 on there, and I don't think I added any images in there. I did not. But it's just a brad. This is a brad from Tim Holtz. More of the cutouts of the images that came with the kit, and just more sewing. Made more writing spots there, as much as I could. The last little writing spot with some bear prints, and again, pine cone. That is a coffee dyed paper, and there is a fireflies been caught. Got to do that if you got kids, don't you? And then another pocket in the back here, and that's it. And I realized I did not put on here anywhere, this is from Mom, I love you, so I guess I'll have to go back and do that. But anyway, the back of it, I just left it fabric and plain, and that's the way that is. So I did sew around the edges, and then I went back and did a blanket stitch as well around the edge, which took a little more time, but all is well that ends well. Thanks for watching. See you next time.